My mom was very, very supportive. My dad was not so much.
Oh, really? Okay.
My dad said, well, boys don't dance, which in a production, like I did a production a few years ago, that's called Boys Don't Dance. I'm a boy. There is no other boy that I know of here that is dancing. And everyone tells me I'm dancing well. So I made it a thing of pride for myself. And, so I think that's how I survived, even when, maybe when kids made fun of me. Some kids made fun of me. Or even in our household, it wasn't like very unanimously accepted.
Accepted, yeah.
Throughout all, and hey, look, I am dancing. I love this, and
Correct.
everyone tells me I'm dancing.
Nice. This is built by grit, where we celebrate hard work, courage, and the people who never give up. Real journeys, real lessons, real grit. Let's get started. I'm your host, Deepa. Ganesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Deep.
Anytime. So, Ganesh, to start off with, how did you first come to Bharatanatyam?
As for back as I remember, like maybe 3-year-old, I remember just jumping around and then trying to dance and, call it dancing and all those things. There was no dance school where I grew. There were Yakshaganas around. There were even Yakshagana classes around in summer, but there was never any other dance school. And I was specifically interested in Bharatanatyam. I don't know why, even at that age, I was very much interested in Bharatanatyam. When I was 10, the school started in a neighboring town. So I started going right away.
So, where did you grow up?
I grew up near Udupi in coastal Karnataka.
Got it. If you can recall, like what really drew you to this art form rather than any other dance style, because you mentioned specifically Bharatanatyam is what that you were interested in. Any thoughts on what could have drawn you to it?
At the time, I did not know why. And I did not know why I was drawn towards dancing so much. On hindsight, I think that could have been many reasons. I don't know whether it is really the reason, but
Sure.
it could have been things like there was a lot of art form around me. Like there was Yakshagana, there were all these things. And then I remember Bharatanatyam-esque dances within Yakshagana, like Tandava and all that, or visiting and then performing Bharatanatyam. Even before I was born, my mom tell me about those things, and she used to tell me with so much joy. So maybe I thought, I don't remember thinking that, but
Sure.
maybe hindsight, unconsciously, maybe I thought, well, this is what I want to do too. It sounds.
For someone who might not be familiar with what Yakshagana is, what is that?
It is a dance drama. It is spoken like a theater, like in a play, but also there is dancing, and then there are songs, classical
I see.
music based songs. So it is like there is classical music based songs that are sung by himmela, by a singer, and then enacted, and then there is actual nritta, what we call nritta, like actual dancing, facial expressions, and then also there is speaking, and all this as a dance drama with multiple people.
Got it. So, who are your gurus? How did the journey start?
My first guru is Chandrasekhar Nawada.
Mm-hmm.
He is a guru in that area, and I started learning from him, like I said, when I was 10. And I learned very religiously, went to weekly twice classes till I went off to college, to engineering college. Like any good boy, did not dance during engineering days. However, even from the very first year, like maybe within a year of starting, my teacher took me along with a couple of other students, like everywhere to perform.
Oh, good.
Like in a year, we were performing like all these folk songs, Alaripu, Jatiswaram, and all those things. I remember dancing, Hunter's dance and the snake dance and the peacock dance.
Nice.
That's how dance journey started.
That is where the journey started. So, did do you see many male Bharatanatyam dancers when you started learning?
My teacher was male, of course,
Right, right.
but other than that, in my school, and I was in that school like for 8 years, right? There was only one other male student in that particular town, I
Mm.
mean, junior. So it was just two of us. And then I think when I was learning from my very first teacher, there was one other male student, my teacher's younger brother.
Okay, okay.
It was like three or four, so I did not see many
Many.
boys dancing. Yeah, it was very clear. Like when went to the classes or outside the classes, it was very clear that it wasn't expected from boys.
Boys. How did that make you feel back then versus now?
So, very good question. Back then, I think humans adapt, right? We
Mm.
tell stories, we tell ourselves, like we do whatever we need to do to feel safe, to make us feel
Right.
like feel safe. So, in that way, I just took pride in it.
Nice.
I said, I am the only one. Like there were not many girls dancing in my town either for that.
Got it.
Jesus, I can't. So I said, I am dancing. I'm a boy. There is no other boy that I know of here that is dancing. And everyone tells me I'm dancing well. So I made it a thing of pride for myself. And, so I think that's how I survived, even when, maybe when kids made fun of me, some kids made fun of me, or even in our household, it wasn't like very unanimously accepted. So
Accepted. Yeah.
throughout all, and hey, look, I am dancing. I love this. And
Correct.
everyone tells me I'm dancing.
Nice. I'm guessing your parents were supportive of your inclinations towards dance.
My mom was very, very supportive. My dad was not so much.
Oh, really? Okay.
My dad said, well, boys don't dance, which in a production, like I did a production a few years ago that's called Boys Don't Dance. But I am the youngest of five, and then my siblings are much older than me. And then my eldest sister was already working when
Uh-huh.
she was 24 and she was working when I started dancing. And she paid for my classes for a number of
Aw, that's so sweet.
a gift of dance. I'm eternally grateful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you don't mind me asking you, how does your dad feel about it now?
I think my dad, within a couple of years, he saw me dancing in a lot of places, and people would go to him and then say, "Oh, your son danced very well, yesterday or whenever last
Right.
week." Then he came around and he did not.
Nice.
He is not very vocal. He would say that boys don't dance, but he wasn't very vocal or didn't try to stop me.
Got it, got it, got it, got it. And that's probably what he knew, like as a man growing up, right? It's our parents usually tell what they were taught. So, going back, do you think was your training approach any different as a male student from your gurus compared to the female students in your classes?
So when I was growing up, absolutely not. Like
Mm-hmm.
in my first 80 years there learning, absolutely not. Actually, sorry, in 80 years, a little bit more than that. Absolutely no difference. I danced what was taught, like we were all taught the same thing. I did not dance any differently. For me, a way to understand my body and then move my body and then kind of,
Mm,
hey, this is how I would move my body as a boy, came much, much, much later as an adult,
mm,
when I was like learning again and then performing and then kind of like thinking about what would suit my body and then what kind of movements and then the feedback I got from audience and all those things, right? All that came much later. I was not taught any differently in the beginning.
hmm. Even
Yeah.
the expressive aspects were essentially the same as a boy when they were
As a kid, yes, but as an adult, I went to, or I am going to Braga Bissell for Abhinaya classes, and she definitely told me. as a male, this is how you can do a female.
Mm.
This is how you can do all these different characters. To what level? Like she always said, look at like the audience has some kind of bias in their mind, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to say bias. They have this understanding, not understanding. They have this idea of
Idea, yeah.
this man to dance, right? Or a boy to dance. So to some extent, since you're dancing to them, you have to conform to those ideas, right? You may want
Mm.
to push a little or like, whatever that is, you may want to push the boundaries a little bit at a time, but you have to consider that idea of your audience, how they expect you to dance. So all those things, she kind of made me realize, and we talked about it. And I like, even today, I kind of like try, even with
Mm.
Varnam or every heroine centric item, I have to sit and think and then say, like, what do I want to do here? How much do
Mm.
I that heroine? It's there always.
Mm. Interesting that you say that, so that you have to sit and think about it. And I wonder if it is the same for, female dancers. They have a lot of, gurus that they can look up to and, get inspired by how their gurus or other popular dancers do. In your space as a male dancer, how does that work? Is it something, completely novel thing that you have to create for yourself, or do you have people that you could look up to?
Absolutely, it's not novel.
Hmm.
There are many male dancers, male dancers started learning Bharatanatyam at Kalakshetra from
Mm.
1940, right? So
Hmm.
there are a lot of examples, but I also do not want to just blindly follow an example.
Sure.
That
Fair.
I mean, audience are influenced by what has come before, what they have seen. So they may be trying to force or think or look at my dancing with those aesthetics. So I
Mm.
forget like what has come before me and how audience have viewed those and then formed their own opinions and how they expect me to dance. I cannot forget it, but at the same time, I don't need to blindly follow whoever has come before me. Right? I think as much as how would you show a female body in a male body, there is also showing different characters, right? Like
Mhm, mhm,
I think that is also as important. For example, how I would show
mm,
a versus a Krishna. And then
mm.
same song, there's Rama and Krishna. How would you bring out the differences? They are both men. And how would you show the difference in their personality, right? I think
Mm.
also as important. So
Interesting, interesting. Did you ever feel like it, being among the minority of dancers, like being a male dancer, did you ever feel that it affected your comfort level either in classes or performance settings?
I mean, it is very clear that you are a minority. This is female dominated dance scene. However, and then there are advantages to it. There are
Mm-hmm.
disadvantages to it. Advantages to it is since if when I go dance, I get immediate attention.
Mm.
Opposed to if a female student or going and dancing, people may say, "Oh yeah, we have seen so many girls dancing," right? But I get immediate attention. That's the advantage. Disadvantage is you absolutely have to dance very, very well
Yes.
because you got noticed already. And then if you did not dance well, people will say, right? So they form that opinion already. So when you put yourself out there as a male dancer, I think you should already be at a dancing at a great level, which I feel like maybe not always the case with female. I don't know whether it's 100%, but still,
Fair. Yeah.
they get noticed when they dance really, but until then, if they dance, like they perform and build up experience, you can do that because there are so many of them, they may not get noticed as much. This is my
Totally.
whether it is true.
It's your perception, and it's could be
Yeah.
very well be the case. We don't know. So, did you ever feel like you had to kind of like justify your seriousness more than your peers, female peers?
Never in terms of men and women dancers, I did not
Mm-hmm.
justify. In fact, I think people understood my passion right away.
Mm-hmm.
Most people, I would say, but I had to justify this is not my vocation, right?
Mm.
This is not my hobby, and there is no really right word for it. passion is fine. It's true, but there is no other word for it that says how much work I also put. If I went and said I'm a professional dancer, everyone understands what that entails, right? So
Mm-hmm.
call myself semi-professional dancers because it's not my vocation, but I put as much work. But that way, when I say I also have a day job, people kind of like um, don't take me seriously in certain circles. And then,
Mm.
but that's like I go and dance every day 2 hours, even on a like when I'm tired, right? And I did
Tired.
decades after my job, right? So
Right.
all those things, I think that's one thing. In the Bay Area, of course, that's not a
Mm.
because a lot of
Yeah.
us have a day job, and then we still keep
It's a
on.
norm here. Yeah.
So that's not a problem. But in certain circles, it is. Another thing is like when you go and dance in India, making people take you seriously just because
Mm.
you're not right doesn't mean that you're like using your money to perform or you're not a serious dancer. That's another struggle in general. But those two, I would say, are like where the struggles are really.
So
Yeah.
totally understand. Got it. Got it. Got it. Somebody recently actually in one of the interviews said that their day job is a job for food, and then the art form is a job for their soul. So that's how I like to think about it. You need both. You need to fulfill your soul requirements and the bodily physical requirements.
Yeah. I mean, I
So
just say I'm doing my day job just to put food on the table. That's not true.
absolute.
I also have to do well there, I feel. So as whatever I take upon, I have to do it very on a very
Absolutely.
level. Otherwise, what's the point of doing it?
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. Was there ever a discouraging moment that you had to go through and overcome?
In dancing journey,
Yes,
I'm pretty sure there are a lot of them, and sometimes I face them on a daily basis, as such as the body pains and
yes.
all those things. I think in both learning ways, learning of the dancing, and then when you are choreographing it yourself, and then when you reach out to different places to perform, everywhere there is discouragement, and that's
Mm.
natural, right? And you cannot just sit there and then complain and then say cry. So, but that's part of life. So you always have to say get up and say, okay, there is another day and I'm going to try, right? One example is like, I mean, these may seem like this is not a concrete example, but I absolutely think they are. I may
Mm.
pick up, let's say I need to create a jati
Mhm.
and then I try to compose, it's not coming, right? So discouraging. Sometimes it would be just you just sit and then think about it and then it's there, it comes, right? I absolutely don't know when it is going to flow, when it is not going to flow. And when it doesn't flow, it is frustrating, but that's fact of life.
No, that makes sense. And have you ever questioned your, what's the right word I'm looking for? Has the imposter syndrome ever crossed your mind?
So you think like you mean
Self doubt.
like,
Self doubt.
self-doubt is very real. It's always there. I feel I don't know whether it is true. If someone says that, hey, I don't have it, then I think probably they're lying. Self always there. I like, am I dancing? It is not am I dancing well? It is like
Hmm.
am I dancing like I want to? Right?
Mm.
In fact,
Mm.
in fact, I don't know whether it is just doubt. It is always true. Like I can go and look at my videos, and in 5 minutes of video, I would have taken 2 pages of notes. This has to get better. This has to get better. This has to get better. You know, I'm literally not. This is literally true. Like 5 minutes of video, my own video, and I have 2 pages of notes. So that's always there. I don't know whether to call it self doubt or imposter syndrome, but it is maybe a desire to do better.
That is a little better. Yeah. Just being aware of what you could improve,
Yeah,
being giving yourself the feedback, right?
yeah.
Self critiquing.
I think being a good dancer means that you have very high confidence at the same time. Also, a lot of doubts together.
uh,
I think
right,
what
right, right.
needed, even though they seem like contradictory. I think both are needed.
Absolutely, absolutely. Slightly going back to the previous topic, it just occurred to me. I wanted to actually ask you, were you encouraged to perform across all emotional ranges, or as a male dancer, were you steered toward a certain theme overall in your performances?
My gurus have never stopped me from doing anything I want to do. In fact, in Abhinaya, my guru Braga Bissell has always encouraged me to do whatever I want to do. And I have a natural tendency
Mm,
to ask her to teach me Kshetriya Padams
mm,
from Devadasi's point of view often, and very heavy, very layered in terms of Devadasi's experience, right? And she has never discouraged me from doing those. She has taught me like all these padams, and that I say, oh, I want to do Koya Lakshiro. And she's like, yeah, let's start it, right? So people haven't discouraged me in
learning.
me all different ranges of expressions. But as a what I felt, my personal experience is that as a male student and a performer, the repertoire that you
Mm,
learn or then are often from a female's perspective. Like all our varnams are like a heroine based, right? And so that while I enjoy doing those, I also feel like that's limiting in certain
mm, mm,
ways. So I also wanted to do things where the central character is a man, right?
mm,
That I had to do many different things to make that possible. For example, like
mm,
if an idea, then I would get them composed in whatever language that's suitable, and then set it to music and then perform like new pieces. And then I would go
mm.
our old texts. Like we have so much text that's been written in like last to 2500 years or even maybe even longer, right, in certain cases. And
Sure.
those texts, there are many instances where hero is mad, and then there are all these different emotions they are talking about. So you look at those texts and then use those texts to compose music and then perform. And then there could be so you have to do all these things, and I have done all those things, which is in fact
Nice.
really like like a mix of male oriented and female oriented. In another way, you can also say very, I don't want to say hereditary items, but our margam, right? I mean,
Yeah.
can be even with the new pieces you can do margam, but a good mix of all these new and very
Mm.
traditional pieces. That's probably.
Got it. Got it. Do you think that being a male dancer, you have like very high expectations? I think you already mentioned on how the bar is really high, but I'm specifically coming from the energy standpoint. It feels like when by the way, I have to register that here that I absolutely adore male dancers. I love watching them. When there is a male dancer involved, I'm stopping and watching that video if I come across that on YouTube or any other social media platform. I think for me, one of the reasons that it draws me is like how powerful and energetic they are. In addition to being also absolutely graceful. Do you feel like that you experience that expectation? If so, how do you experience that expectation?
I think that expectation is on all of us, not just male dancers,
Mm.
also females, to be energetic. In fact, if you look at the dance, Bharatanatyam itself, over the years, it has gotten more athletic and
Yes.
athletic and athletic. Now I feel like we are competing in like Olympic level Bharatanatyam. So I think you have to decide on what level of energy is right for that piece and
Mm.
how high of a jump is required, and how much energy you want to put. I think it can be like there could be many different vectors for it, like what the piece requires, what looks good on your body, and what's your style, all those things. Right. I wouldn't just jump around, and try to be someone else on the height of the jump just because I'm a man and then I am dancing. No, I just don't believe in it.
Got it. Got it. Got it. You mentioned that you did a program, the Boys Don't Dance, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about it. I'm
Yeah.
curious.
So I started doing my own works from like 2011. Um, while also performing some of the pieces I've learned and I've from my teachers. And because of all the reasons I was telling you, like as a male, I had to kind of like find new material that's suitable
Mhm.
to show. As part of it, I have done many solos, even from like entire margams of male-oriented pieces, like where
Mhm.
Anne is a central character in each of those, right?
Mm.
So solos and then groups. And in groups, I've done Life of Pi. I've done Boys Don't Dance. And Boys Don't Dance is basically my own experiences and then experiences of other male dancers I've talked to. It's like like growing up as a boy and being and wanting to be in dance classes and then what kind of obstacles you face. So all that is told in that.
And how was the reception? Did you get a lot of men and boys to come and watch the show?
We had actually a lot of boys in the show. So I reached out to a lot of teachers and then I asked their boys to be part of the show. I think from youngest would have been at 7 at the time to me, right? So we had
Uh-huh.
some 10 people, even though mostly it was three of us that danced. And then there were a couple of female characters as well. So there were a lot of boys in it. I've done it only once. Everyone tells me that I should do it again. And maybe one of these days.
Yeah, probably. You should do it again. I actually heard about it from another friend. I think it was 2 years ago, right? Something
It
like that.
was 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
3 years ago, and I missed it. So next time, hopefully. So what was your toughest period in Bharatanatyam?
My toughest period, that is the toughest question for sure. My period, I don't know. It's always been not easy for with many different reasons. Probably as a boy, it's like learning different reason, and as while you're working and then trying to do this, that's also not easy. I would say probably the toughest. If you force me, like if you twist my arm and then say no, pick one. So I was doing my MBA at UC Berkeley at
Mhm.
and for one semester, I was still going to classes. I was just auditing classes. I wasn't paying for them. So they didn't count towards my degree. And then I
Uh-oh, okay.
seriously considered leaving everything and then becoming a full-time dancer. This was maybe like 15 years ago. Uh,
Mm,
and so I considered going back to India and then becoming a
mm.
dancer. And I was, for one semester, I was like talking to career counselors. I was talking to all my friends and then see what they thought. I was talking to like my female, like dancer friends, performers themselves. And then I decided, no, that wouldn't work for me. So I have to, whoa. So that was not easy. I don't do very well with chaos and then
Mm,
things haven't settled. So that was not very easy. And then 7 years ago, went to India for 6 months. I went to Chennai
mhm, mhm.
and I knew I would be there only for 6 months. I was learning from, of course, Pragak and also Lakshman sir. And then I was performing all around. And that was also very, very hard for me, being there for 6 months. Friendless. I felt like um, no base, no home. Well, I did have a beautiful place. I was living in a beautiful place, but I felt like no home. It was very hard for me in many ways.
Got it. So, Ganesh, if you were to highlight some of your, past work, what would they be and why?
So a few things. One is a Descent of the Ganges piece that I choreographed. It
Mhm.
was one of my very first choreographies where it was like an 18 minutes piece, mostly in Nritta, from the dynamic between Ganga and Shiva.
Mm,
As she's jumping from the heaven to the earth, he's there to hold her or to stop her power destroying the earth, right? So the dynamics that they have, that piece is very dear to me because that's one of the first pieces that I choreographed. And I got the lyrics written for
mm,
for like Subramanya or Shanmuga or Murugan has married Valli, And his first wife is Devayani. Now he has married Valli. Now he has come back to Devayani to tell her, to see her for the first time since he married Valli, right? So their interaction, how would it be like this Murugan and Devayani, what interaction they would have? I got the Varanam composed and then Snigdha set it to music and I performed it. That piece is very dear to me. I think we can sit and here talk about this for a long time. The pieces. There is one more piece that was from Shiva's point of view. The question I was dealing in that piece was, what if, what if when you're in love with someone, you're very vulnerable, but however, that other side, the other person is misusing that vulnerability and then they're making you change yourself. So how would it be? Right. So I used Shiva, and then because there's no other in Hinduism, at least, or maybe in general, that is so identified by what he wears, right? All this, right? Like if I tell you, hey, he has a deer in his hand, you immediately know that's Shiva, right? He has fire in his hand, immediately know it's Shiva. So there are all these iconographies that identify him. And if you remove that, is he still Shiva, right? That I had earlier talked about, the vulnerability and love, is put on to this, where Shiva is talking to his not Parvati, just a Samanya Naika, and she says, I am scared of that fire. Just put it away. Don't come near me unless you do so. And then she mocks him for wearing tiger skin. Why not? Don't you have silk? And then why do you have this lady on your head? Things like those. So he takes all these things off one by one, and then at the end he says, now will you accept me? So that vulnerability again, right? So that is very, very dear to me. I have only performed it just a couple of times. Snigdha set music for it. Sandhya Kalyana Sundaram wrote lyrics for it, but the idea came from me. And then, of course, Life of Pi, which I have performed maybe like 10 times now. It's a group production based on the where Boys Don't Dance is always dear because it's kind of like my own story. So there are many pieces that I in fact do not choreograph pieces unless I really, really want to do that piece. So while I am doing it, they're all like, even before I do it, they're already my favorites. And like, I love the
idea.
and ideas. So that's why I'm taking them up. So everything I've done, I love.
You're passionate about it. So while you were describing these choreographies that you did, I was wondering what goes into this process? What's the process like? How do you, I mean, idea is something that all of us probably constantly think about, but how do you go about executing an idea such as this? It's like, it starts off probably fairly vague and then, finding a lyricist and setting music, and that too, it's in Carnatic music most likely. There are a lot of nuances to it. So can you walk us through a process?
I feel that is the easiest part. Like
Okay.
this is process, right? Of setting, like getting lyricists, writing it and setting it to music. But I feel really the most important part is that the idea itself, like the
Mm,
idea, right? So for example, like the Ganga piece that I talked about, it really started as two separate ideas that I merged. One was I was just listening to a song, and like I was listening to a lot of Carnatic music, and then I heard this Gangadhara Tripurahara by Mysore Sadashiva sung, that is sung in Karnataka quite a bit, and then I heard MS Sheila's version of it, and then I fell in love with that. It's in Purvi Kalyani, and then that Ganga, it starts as Gangadhara. So I said, oh, I can probably use this to tell story of Ganga, and then
mm,
a separate thread I had been thinking about. This was like maybe 13, 14 years ago when we were talking about how there is like a glass ceiling for women in any lot of different industries, especially software like tech industry, right? That has changed quite a bit, but I am in tech industry. We were talking about it. We were thinking about it. So I said, look, there are powerful women, but they are stopped from achieving greatness. And then how can I tell a story of that? So then I merged those two in my narration. Ganga is so, like, if you keep that aside, if you just go to a pagan religion, Ganga would be a bigger goddess, god in pagan religion than Shiva. In a non-pagan religion where it has maybe evolved and then the ideas have become gods themselves, the idea of death, the idea of creation of universe, then the Shiva becomes a bigger god, and all the god of river, god of ocean, god of Vayu become smaller gods, right? Which is what Hinduism, which is, I mean, there's no right or wrong. So in some ways, I could say that Ganga is more powerful. I could even say Ganga is more useful, right? Literally,
Literally, yeah.
is more useful. What am I going to do with the death or god of death, right? So I was thinking about in those terms. In my story, they are both very powerful, and she kind of realizes that at some point she realizes that this man who's physically more powerful has tied her up, and now what is she going to do? Her feminine charm to get out of that. So that's how it came together. So the idea came together. In fact, I would say those ideas coming together is way take up way more time for me than anything else. Sometimes they're in my mind for years where I'm thinking about them, right? But once I know that I want to do this idea in this particular way, then I will go look for maybe suitable songs. And then if they don't exist, then I will get them composed. Then I take them to, I see whether the composition is fine for me, like, whether I like how it is written, whether it rolls with in the tongue. And then I musicians, usually Snigdha is my biggest supporter, friend,
Collaborator.
all those things rolled into one. And we set music and then kind of work through choreography of it. Yeah. So for me, I feel that the middle part feels like much easier. I don't know whether collaborators feel that way, but me, I feel that way. For me,
Got it.
the problem is the idea and then how that idea is fine. Like, am I going to use a jati? Am I going to use like swarams here? Like, what would I use? All those things are but I love this process. Like, if I could do this forever, I would.
Or maybe the collaborators are actually making it easy for you. So, that's another perspective.
Yeah, it's absolutely. That's why I said from their point of view, maybe it is not so easy. So maybe, yeah, maybe.
Got
This
it.
is
Got
why
it. Got it. Fantastic. What's next? What's coming up?
what's coming up. So I have a production coming out. We did it once in October of 2025. Now I'm staging it again with certain changes. It's called A Thousand Years Journey. The idea is to talk about illegal trafficking of antiquities and how they end up in global trading of arts, and how they end up in museums, how they end up in private collections, all those things. So, and all this story is, and this is a big problem for heritage rich countries such as India or
India.
right? In my production, this story is told through a Chola era, so 1,000 years old, right? Bronze Nataraja statue. And he has found himself in New York at an auction house and he's being auctioned off. So, from his point of view, he starts telling his story, how he was made, how bronze statues are made. They are made even today using, and back then too, 1,000 years ago, they were made using a method called lost wax method.
Okay.
So he talks about how he was made and why he was made, his purpose, all the things he saw in those 1,000 years. Basically, it is like a history, also history of India in a way too, right?
Nice.
And then how he ended up in New York, and then at the end, where does he belong? They belong in a museum in, say, New York, or a big museum where millions of people would see him, right, in a year? Or does he belong to that small village temple where maybe 100 people saw him in a year, but those 100 people saw him every day, right? Same 100 saw him every day, and they have a relationship with him. So where does he belong? Or does he belong in a private collection where he's put in like AC and he's safe? He's not gonna, it's I don't know. So that question is put to the audience and
Audience. Okay.
audience to think about it. So where do they?
Got it.
In fact, this is exactly what's going on, right? A lot of the countries, including India, is asking for repatriation of a lot of the antiquities that were either taken out of the country or were stolen and taken out of the country. And so I am dealing with that question through this 1,000 years, 8,000 years.
And why does it matter to you, this topic?
Why does it matter to me? On many levels, it matters to me. One is, like I said, connecting back to male, right? Male
Mm-hmm.
or pieces. Here is a perfect piece where protagonist is a Nataraja statue, not Nataraja, Nataraja statue. So I love that. And then there is, if you look at Bharatanatyam, I mean, Bharatanatyam has many, many layers of devotion and entertainment, and all those things. I feel the same about this too. There are many, many, many layers. And I also want to make people think through whatever I'm dancing. At the end of the day, I want them to think about, think about what I have done, right?
Mm.
So I think this is perfect to make them think about it. And then of course it's a social issue. I mean, it's an issue. So
Sure.
all the rolled into one, I feel so passionate about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sorry, one thing I always say is a dancer is cannot be just dancing.
Mm.
To be a dancer, to be an artist, you have to, like, we everyone says you have to know music, you have to know, the talas, all those things are right. And you also need to know lyrics. All those things are right, right? You need to know the language. All those things are right. But in addition to that, I also feel you need to know the history. You
Mm.
history of dancing itself, like where has it come from, how was it, where was it, and how did we end up here. You also need to know that, right? Without knowing it, if you don't know it, you're just doing a slice of today. You can't connect it to past, you can probably connect it to future, but we are not working in isolation. We are working in a big time continuum, right? We are just a small.
Mm.
So I feel like you need to understand the before so that you can also contribute to the future. So I feel that that comes very well in this production because I'm talking about like this 1,000 years of things.
Got it. Got it. In fact, I was about to ask about that myself. Is like, do you think the history is well understood among the dance community? And I'm glad you touched on it already.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I don't know whether history is very well understood in the dance community. Probably not. But also, there are some questions that even today no one knows answer, not just dance community.
Mm.
No one knows it, right? For example, we know that the dance for the longest time was Karana based. And
Mm.
all of a sudden, that Karana based dance changes to Adavu based dance.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of say based on the sculptures and based on the text, we can say kind of when that transition happened, but with absolute certainty, we cannot tell why. So,
Mm.
like a lot of times, there is like no, like we don't know the answer, right?
Mm.
Theories that have been proposed, but we don't know whether those are true. So, yeah. So, there are two different things. One is like to what is known, what's generally accepted. Do dancers know about it, right? And do they go and try to dig this and try to read and try to do all those research? And the second is like there are things that I would love to go, to 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago and then see how it was. But
We
yeah,
don't have the
don't
text or the documentation for it, unfortunately, right? We have to rely on the temples and what's written there and stuff
have
like that. So along those lines, just based on several, probably a few decades of your learning and performing, what do you believe is your current Bani, current style?
I don't believe in Bani.
Okay,
I believe in the body, not Bani.
explain what does that mean?
So I should dance what looks good on my body.
Ah.
So I don't need to do a certain adavu in a certain way because my guru danced it that way, or his guru danced it that way, or my style is XXX, and Kalakshetra, Pantanalur,
Yeah,
Mysore,
Varur, yeah.
whatever it is, right? I don't know, whatever. There are so many bodies. I I don't believe in bodies. I even in Varuvur, what we call Varuvur today is Varuvur came from Varuvur Ramaya Pillai, right?
Mm.
Himself, this is probably very controversial, but Varuvur Ramaya Pillai himself made his students dance in different ways, whatever look their bodies, right? How Kamala auntie danced is different from how Radha auntie danced, even in
Mm.
their sisters, but how they danced is different because, you know, and then KJ Sarasa, right? Again, Ramaya Pillai's disciple, how
Disciple. Mm.
he danced is different. So the problem, I think Bani problem really, and all Banis, like sometime in 1930s, they all converge, right?
Mm.
Like what is Kalakshetra was
Kalakshetra, I was thinking. Yeah. Okay.
because Nallur Meenakshi Sundaram Pillai went to Kalakshetra. And then he taught that. And then it slowly changed and it looks like what it is today, which is recognized as Kalakshetra style. Anyway, instead of talking about those histories, what I feel is I don't believe in Bani, I believe in body, which is you dance what looks good on your body. Looks good is subjective, I understand that. So, what I think looks good on my body, someone may say, no, it doesn't look good on your body. There is always those problems. But as a dancer, you should be able to kind of like decide.
Mm.
Just
Take that creative freedom to work
yeah,
with your own space. Yeah. That could be actually quite a radical thought, right? Because not everybody probably believes that way. There are sticklers too, the Banis out there as well, which
yeah,
is totally fine, if
yeah.
that's
I
what,
think and innovation both are needed. Again, past and future, right? So both are needed. They cannot work like they cannot be isolated. They are one thing. So tradition and innovation, they may seem like opposite, but they have to be together. You have both of
fair,
them. Yeah.
fair, fair. Do you also teach, Ganesh?
I do not teach. I don't have time. I have taught. I enjoy teaching to adults who have already learned
Mm-hmm.
and they have learned for years. So then it's kind of like that the relationship is not teacher student. It's kind of like me talking through like what I think is right, how the body is moving, like making them think about their own, which is what I really, really, really like. But I don't have much time to do any of those. So if I did any of that, it is taking time from my own dancing, my own, choreography. So I tend to not do that.
Yeah. Or maybe in future. You never know. Who knows what the future holds for us. But thank you so much for all your conversation today. I actually truly enjoyed it. As a closing thought, do you feel your presence on the stage carries representational value for younger boys learning Bharatanatyam? And what would you say to a boy who loves Bharatanatyam but hesitates to pursue it seriously?
I absolutely think that when someone sees me on the stage, it helps the boy who may be watching or a lady who may be watching and her future son or her son, whoever it is, or a father seeing me dancing and then they may be a little open to their sons dancing. I absolutely believe in it. And that's the nature of the world. You get used to what you see and what you
Mm-hmm.
hear, right? There is an example already. So so I absolutely believe in it.
So, Ganesh, what aspect of the dance form still probably humbles you? What kind of artist are you still working on becoming?
Oh, that is such a beautiful question. I think I can answer that in many, 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 many ways.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, because there is not one aspect that I am trying to do. I am trying to do like total 100% um, be in that experience. Like, even if there is someone watching, even if there is an audience, even if I'm dancing on stage, like, I want to forget everything and I want to be in
Hmm.
that is one thing. And then, of course, the physical aspect is always there. Just because, let's say, I dance very well physically yesterday, that doesn't mean that my struggle today is not real. To
Mm.
it doesn't stay, and all of us are aging, and thank God we are aging. So the struggle is real. So there is always that aspect, and then there are
Sure.
aspects of all these new compositions that you discover that are even old, right? Like new Kshetrayapadams, for example, with such beautiful meanings and layered understanding of life. I hope I find all these things, and then kind of like enjoy, and then keep the same passion and love doing it every time I dance.
Awesome. Awesome.
Every practice.
Well said. Ganesh, this was a wonderful conversation. I learned a lot about you and, a male dancer's perspective. And I hope a lot of the listeners will, come watch your show and really be encouraged to be open-minded about it. Any closing thoughts?
Thank you so much for making me talk. Tell I love talking. And thank you so much. This was wonderful for me as well.
Thanks for joining me today. If this inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe.